What up, everybody? Welcome back to Unplugged and Uncut, right here on Cloud9 Radio. You're kicking it with your boy Unique, and today we got a great day. We got the San Antonio Spurs in our #1 prospect watch. That's right, the Spurs have an unparalleled amount of draft compensation this year to work with, so we're gonna get into who we think they got their eyes on. That's right, we're gonna give you our #1 player to watch. We're also gonna give you a few other bigs to look out for just in case they decide to make some moves. But before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we are giving away that PlayStation 5 and the game of your choice once we hit 100,000 subscribers. That's right, all you have to do to be entered to win is hit that subscribe button, bam, and leave some comments because that's how we're gonna pick. But without further ado, let's get into the NBA draft prospect that we think the Spurs got their eyes on. Now, before I give you my number one pick, I'm going to give you 3 players to look out for that are at the top of the NBA draft boards. And that's because the Spurs have 3 first-round draft picks and a second-round draft pick. Now, they also have their future picks, so they might want to move up to get the #1 player in this draft. And if that's something they want to do, we'll start with that first. So the best players in this draft, the top 3 are going to be, I would say, Jabari Smith out of Auburn, 6'10", 210-pound freshman, averages 16 points a game, 6.7 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1 block, 1.3 steals. Is similar, built in that mode of a Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., Chris Bosh, very mobile, good at getting shots off the dribble, excellent three-point shooter, brings excellent defense. Now, Jabari Smith's 2-point percentage could be better, but that's not from talent. That's more of shot selection, and I think that'll get better as he goes and gets older. Remember, this guy is very young. He's a freshman, and he is my #1 player if the Spurs go all in. We're trading all our draft picks and the player. All right, so the #2 player they could choose would be Chet Holmgren. 7'1", 195-pound beast. He's a freshman as well, straight out of Gonzaga, averaging 15 points, 9.6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3.3 blocks, monster, 2.6 steals, monster. His player comps are Dirk Nowitzki and Marcus Camby combined. Ooh, tell me that don't sound enticing. You got a mobile big who's an excellent shooter, inside, outside, plays defense. The only thing you can say about Chet Holmgren is his slight build. That's right, he has a slimmer frame. But you've had some slim frame players that have done quite well in the NBA. DeJounte Murray, Kevin Durant, Tayshaun Prince, just to name a few examples. You don't have to be the biggest person to be successful. Not to mention, you can't teach height, 7'1". Ugh. So Chet Holmgren would be the second player. Now, the third player I actually got in a triangle. That's right, there's 2 players on my board today that we're going to go over that are triangled. And one is triangle and starred because that's the players I think the Spurs might get lucky and get. And the third player is straight out of Duke. Paolo Bonchero, 6'10", 250-pound freshman. Reminds me of a young Chris Webber, averaging 17 points, 8.5 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 1 block, 1.1 steals. The man gets the job done on both sides of the ball. He's able to pass the ball really well and get you buckets when you need. And the reason I got him triangled is because even though he's projected to be in the top 3, if you go look at some of the draft boards, you'll see he's starting to slide to that 5th spot. Now, if he slides to the 5th spot and the Spurs right now are projected to go 7, I could see them moving their 7th pick and the later pick to move up to that 5th spot. It'll be easier to get there than to get to that #1 spot. You have to give up less assets. And before I get into the player that I think the Spurs are going to actually shoot for and go for, let's see why Paolo Bonchero might fall. You got players like Johnny Davis being compared to Manu Ginobili, Jaden Ivan, Ivy, my bad, being compared to Dwayne Wade, Shaden Sharp, a young Brandon Roy, and then not to mention his own teammate, Adrian Griffin Jr. is being compared to Jimmy Butler. So those are 4 players that could slide up and push Bonchero down the board, because these are 4 good guard forwards or guard wing players that teams are gonna want. When you start comparing somebody to Dwayne Wade, Brandon Roy, Manu Ginobili, and Jimmy Butler, people are gonna look out for that. So watch out for these 4 players right here to try and slide upwards into the draft. Watch their draft stock continue to rise. Which gets me into the number 1 player I think the Spurs pick. Whether they stay where they're at or they're moving around, I don't care if they get Paolo Bonchero, I still think this is the player they're going after, and they will pair them together. That's right, Jabari Smith and this player. Or just this player. And that player is the 6'10", 209-pound, straight out of Serbia, Nikola Jovic. Now, he's a very young international player. He's going to be able to understand Greg Pop's tyrants when he starts going all Serbian on them. But watch out, Nikola Jovic can ball. He's averaging 10.4 points a game, 4.1 rebounds, 3.2 assists, half a block, and 0.6 steals. Now, I know those aren't the most impressive numbers, but he's going up against professional players. He is playing in the professional league. So you could just look at Nikola Jovic as a 6'10" point forward who can score inside and out and excels at passing the basketball. That is right. You got a 6'10" point forward who can slide right in next to Jakob Poeltl, KJ, Vassell, and DeJounte Murray. And he's good at keeping the ball moving. It's not going to stick when it touches him. He's going to facilitate, drive, kick. This kid is really good. And I actually think this is the player the Spurs have their eyes on the most. I've seen him go as high as in the 20 picks and as low as the 7th pick. That's right. There is a draft board where he goes in the top 10 to who? The San Antonio Spurs. That's right. If the Spurs do not move up and they pick where they land, I would not be surprised or shocked if Nikola Jovic is their guy. Now, his strengths, of course, are passing, assist. His draft age is going to be really young. He's 6'10". You can't teach size. He's a 6'10" small forward that can slide to power forward because he's a point forward. But he's more suited for a small forward, point forward. He's smooth with the basketball. He does have the weaknesses of field goal percentage, true shooting percentage, and effective field goal percentage. And he doesn't rebound as well as you would like for somebody his size. But again, that's youth and decision making. Field goal percentage and effective field goal percentage, you can work on that as you get older, especially with the Spurs having a shooting coach like Chip there. But rebounding, Tim Duncan. Even Zach Collins is really good at boxing people out. So learning how to rebound with that 6'10" frame, I think he could learn that in the Spurs. Watch out, Nikola Jovic, the Serbian. I think this is the player the Spurs want to add to their current pool of talent, guys. Also, with their later round pick, I could see him going after a Jeremy Shuen, a 6'9", 230 freshman who also plays great defense. In fact, Jeremy's strengths are defense of win shares. He's going to increase that. He's going to increase your defensive rating as a team. He offensive rebounds well. His 2-point percentage is excellent. He's young. He's good at stealing the ball, rebounding. So a lot of offsets with Jovic is not so good at. And I think Jeremy will be available in around that 18th to 20th pick. One more player to, just in case they stick with the drafts they have, to watch out for, I think could be interesting for the Spurs. So let's say they got Nikola Jovic and they're looking for a guard later on in the draft. Watch out for Dyson Daniels out of the G League Ignite. The kid is from Australia, but he can really go. He's 6'6" and an explosive wing. So watch out for him with that second pick, guys. But I'm going to look in the comment section and see if you guys agree with me. I think we onto something here. I think Nikola Jovic is the exact player that the Spurs are looking at. When you see these draft boards, a lot of these draft boards are based upon where the teams are projected to pick and who their scouts are actually looking at. You see, they know the Spurs are looking at these certain players, or the Bulls are looking at these certain players, just to name a couple teams. And then they match that with their draft position and where they think players are going to fall. So if you would have checked out this same site last year, or a couple years ago, they actually had the Spurs picking Devin Vassell. So I do find some credibility here with the Nikola Jovic, and it kind of goes with what I was thinking. And then it goes with Pop, you know, being from Serbia, getting him a player, one of the best players from his home country as well, to join the Spurs. And not just because he's from Serbia, he's a really good player. All right, guys, so I'm going to check in the comments one more time, like I was saying, to see if you guys agree with me about Nikola Jovic. Are you excited about the draft and all the available options the Spurs have? I mean, this is outstanding and unparalleled, unprecedented as a Spurs fan to have this many options going into the NBA draft this year. And it's kind of crazy and exciting to know that we're going to get a good draft pick whether we make the playoffs and the play-in or whether we fall back or not. Because Brian Wright did a really good job at picking up those 3 first-round picks. So he did a really good job and put the Spurs in position to where they don't have to worry about tanking. They can still fight for that playoff and play-in tournament and still come out with a really good player from this year's draft. But that's my show for today, guys. I still got to make sure I get out there and finish editing our draft videos. There were so many, our trade videos. There were so many trades that went on. And teams to update, I got to get those out there for you. So I will get that taken care of. But right now, your boy out. Peace.